Sorry, I'm just trying to go on Facebook, but Facebook is not giving me the option of going live. It's the first time that's ever happened. Like there's no, the button's gone, and I've turned my phone off and on. Oh, why the heck is it doing this? Sorry, I'm just trying to get on Facebook, but it's not giving me an option to even go on. It won't let me do a live. Yep. I've refreshed everything. And what I'll try and do is switch accounts and see if that helps. These are my top 5 tips for parents. Sugar. Sorry. Oh, now it's showing a whole bunch of weird stuff. Okay, I can't get on video. Let's see. No, it's not. Facebook, for some reason, is not letting me go live. I have no idea why. What do I do? Do I just go right to Instagram? Sorry, YouTube. I know this is boring, but I hate letting people down. And I know people tune into these things, and I can't. Tell me about your old lady fitness channel. What name's it? Oh, I'm so insulted. Yeah, it's called, I don't really want to share it because it's just my stupid old lady stuff. Yeah, sorry. I'm still trying to get on Facebook here. It is not allowing me to go on. There's like a plus symbol that you go on, and you can do videos or you can do a live, and it's just disappeared. So anyway, I'm going to go on to YouTube, no, Instagram. Oh, Instagram is letting me go on. Yeah, I'll just go on Instagram. Oh, well. Oh, the old lady channel. It's called Showing Up at 60. It's on TikTok. It's just on TikTok. I don't do it. I don't post that often. I used to post more. It was fun back. That was when I was first getting going with TikTok. And then I blew up on my business one, so I didn't have time for the other one. Okay. I am on Instagram because Facebook is not allowing me to do a live today. The button is disappeared. I've tried everything. I've turned the phone off and on. So yeah, sorry about that. I know today's going to be a bit of a bust, but anyway, yeah, I feel really bad about that. Oh, I hate that. I hate being late. When I say I'm going to be somewhere, I'm there. So here I can't do it. No, I don't have a book. I've never written one. I probably will one day. I just don't have time. So, and don't ask me about any book recommendations because I've never read a book on parenting or kids. So I only teach through my own experience. But yeah, one day I hope to write a book or get someone to write a book for me. Oh, writing. I'm no good at it. I can talk forever, but I can't write. I don't enjoy it. Everyone seems to have trouble with Facebook. Yeah, it's just first time that's ever happened. The button is a plus sign and it's gone. I've refreshed it. I've changed my Facebook pages around. I've turned it on, my phone off and on. The plus button has disappeared. So I'm not going to stress over it. It's out of my control. But it's frustrating because you can't let people know, right? Anyway, I'm on YouTube at the same time. So I am on YouTube and on Instagram. So yeah, I guess I'll just do an extra long one here. And then I'll move over to TikTok. Okay, so let's see parenting questions. Do you invite friends over that are bad influence on your kids? No, I wouldn't. Wait a minute. Is it their friends or is it your friends' kids? If it's my friends' kids, no, I would just get together with my friends without their kids. If it's your kids' friends, yeah. Yep, I don't tell them who to be friends with. I'm very... if they're really little, I control that. But especially when they're teenagers, I don't tell my kids who to be friends with. If you do, you're going to shove them right in their face. I mean, you're just going to run to that. They just sort of naturally do. So I don't know. I've never really done anyway. How can I get my 2-year-old to follow instructions? You can lower your expectations. That's not about your toddler. That's about you not understanding toddlers. They don't follow instructions. It's ridiculous. Oh, I was going to say something political. I thought, oh, thank God I didn't say it. I was going to make a joke about a politician. I'm not into politics, but it would have been really good right there. Okay. I was going to say it'd be like trying to get so-and-so to do something. Okay, or do the right thing. Anyway, and that's just my own personal view anyway, so it's subjective, sort of. Okay, these are my top 5 tips for managing toddlers. I used to call it parenting toddlers, but this is just managing having a toddler around. You don't really ever manage toddlers. They kind of manage, they're crazy anyway. These are my top 5 tips for managing toddlers. Number 1, childproof your home so you never have to say no. Number 2, set up a toy rotation system so they're never bored. Number 3 is when you want to connect with a toddler, this is under the age of 3, you enter their world. You do not take them to the nail salon to connect with them. You watch how they play and you join in. You enter their world. They just start to look at you differently. And number 4 is when you want to discipline a toddler, you do so in their world also. And that they're not about words, they're about actions. They're about consistent corrective actions. They have to be right in the moment and they learn through repetition. And number 5 is stop trying to figure them out. They're not figure-outable. They're brand new, fresh human beings. Imagine if you've only been in the world for 2 years and for one of those years you were a potato laying on a mattress. Plus their brains are little. They're just forming. They're little sponges right now, but they're just forming. And you expect them to follow instructions? Yeah, you got to change the way you view a toddler. Once you understand toddlers and teens, they're a piece of cake, but it's the lack of understanding is the problem. So yeah, I'm just telling you, they're not figure-outable. They might even go like this and smear poop on the wall. And toddlers are toddlers. What do you do? Learned bad behavior from other kids at school, toddler 2 to 3. Well, I kind of need to know what it is. I don't know what it is. About the potty party, do you start boys out sitting? Oh, good question. The reason I didn't put that in there is that doesn't really matter. They can stand or they can sit. If they're standing, they like to hit Cheerios or something, something like that or ping pong balls some parents put in there. I'd be worried about flushing it though. But anyway, so yeah, it doesn't really matter. That's why I thought about putting that in there, but I thought it doesn't really matter. How many days do you have them treats? I would do it for about a week or wait till they're trained. If they're not trained within a week, I might just say, okay, let's just stop this for now and then pick it up a month from now. So take a break from it. There's something, they're just not quite ready yet, or maybe you're doing something a little bit wrong or, so just give it about a month's break. So maybe do about a week with treats. Again, I can't generalize with that because my son only got treats for 1 day. Once he was trained, he never got another treat. So, but then I was already kind of a leader, so they were more likely to follow me. This is when you do the potty party, it's a really good exercise to start leadership skills because you're leading with fun, right? When you want to get what you want from toddlers, you generally lead with fun. They'll follow you around. They just kind of want to please you almost. They're kind of getting there, but they're still going to do crazy stuff. How many kids do you have and what are their ages? Oh, okay. I don't really discuss my adult kids because that's their private life. I don't really bring them on here. But anyway, I just have 2 kids, 34 and 29. And I've also got a 2-month-old granddaughter. So my 7-year-old thinks the behavior board is licensed to be the policeman of the family. Help. Oh, isn't that good? He's keeping you in check. What's wrong with that? I think that's great. That means he's on board with it. He's on board with the board. Yeah, lots of kids do that. Lots of kids bring their parents over to the behavior board when they break the rule. I think that's great. I like to give kids a say. If they're making good choices and they're making sense and they're being reasonable and they're pointing out my flaws and my mistakes, hey, I'm all over that. I think that's wonderful. Yeah, encourage them. A 6-year-old wets the bed almost every night. He doesn't wake up to it and needs as much sleep. Yeah. And is on ADHD medication. And okay, that's difficult because he is on medication. I can't address that. And also bedwetting could be a medical issue. Sometimes they just have a really weak bladders. This is what a doctor told me. They either have a really short connection that it's just not very far to go, so it doesn't give them much time to get up. Or they just have, they fill up and their message to their brain just doesn't get there when they're sleeping. So what doctors have told me, and I'm just saying what they told me, I don't understand it, is you get them to stop and start peeing when they're going during the day. So stop, start, stop, start, stop, start. And that sort of strengthens that muscle. And then hopefully it'll wake them up in the middle of the night. Or you get them up at midnight, walk them sleepily into the bathroom, have them go pee, and then they won't even wake up to do it sometimes. You might not wake up either. Your video on ignoring kids talking back has been so amazing. Yeah, you kind of ignore, you ignore the crazy. Talking back tantrums, whining is sort of in the crazy department. I kind of ignore that stuff. Yeah, and then you reward the calm. When they are nice, then you say, "Oh, what you doing there?" Or something, you know. So yeah, good for you. You ignore the crazy, you reward the calm. Or in other words, you don't put your focus where you don't want to grow. Wherever you put your energy, your focus, your attention is what tends to grow. Okay, that's why when we discipline, it's fast. Didn't like that? I'll tell you what, no TV tonight. Okay, do you understand? That's it. Okay, do you want to go to the park? No, I hate you. I hate you. Okay, never mind. As soon as they come down, ready to go to the park now? So you've disciplined, it's over. Keep trying to connect with them after that. Okay, do you think the school is too much for fun? I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. Sorry, I was just trying to read a question on YouTube here. My daughter takes her arms out of the car seat while driving. I tell her to put them back, but she just says no and laughs at it. But well, I don't know how old she is. Oh, she's 2. I don't know how old she is. She's 2, you said. Sorry about that. Anyway, yeah, you're just going to have to get something. I don't know what it's called, but parents have showed me what they bought. It's like it looks like a sort of a canvas sort of thing where you snap it on and it prevents them from getting access to, like it sort of tightens it up. It pulls these forward. It's supposed to be a safe thing to get. I don't know. It's probably made especially for each car seat, but I would look into that. There's no way I would risk. You can't expect a 2-year-old to understand responsibility. So if they are wiggling their way out of it, you're going to have to tighten it up or buy one of those extra safety things that they can't get out of. Like literally it kind of goes across, I've seen it. It goes across the chest and it snaps on. So it holds on to these two and it's hard for them to get out. 10-year-old constantly wants to buy skincare at Sephora. How do we manage? Well, they're following your lead. You must have gone there with them and allowed that. Or like I would have said to my kids, are you kidding me? Like, why do you even address that? Yeah, I wouldn't. 10 years old, no, I wouldn't even. I'd say, that's not happening. I would play my parenting card with that one. Yeah, you're 10. You're not wearing makeup. You're not going to Sephora. Nope. And we're not going to Victoria's Secret either. No. And we're also not going to a bar or a casino. So yeah, I would use humor with that. And then they're not going to like it. So like you have such a way of saying it too when they get to know, like if you're just learning how to do this, it's harder. But I would have used sarcasm and yeah, it's not going to happen. Yeah. Oh, you must be new here. This is, what consequence do you suggest for a 2-year-old when acting out and not able to remove item? Do you use timeout at this age? I hate timeout. I can't stand it. I would never use it. You can always remove them. You can't always remove the item, but you can remove them. Just hold on to them. Hold them back from the item. You either take the fun away from them or take them away from the fun, just temporarily till they settle down. Then give them another go. Give them another chance. 3-year-old son always throwing toys. Use my toy rotation system for one thing. They're going to run out of toys pretty quick. So they don't tend to throw things if they're precious. And if they only have a few toys out at any given time, they're more precious to them. If they're overstimulated with millions of toys around, they're more likely to throw them. But I would put no throwing toys unless it's a ball outside and something like that. And then I would put that on the behavior board. That's completely free. Check out the link above. That's got my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, or my coaching. You can check all that out above. But the behavior board, put down no throwing toys. And then there's a consequence if they do. So it's always their choice. I never try and stop kids from being naughty. I know that sounds ridiculous. Why would I? I want them to stop themselves from being naughty. So I put a rule. I say, this is the rule. If you do it, there'll be a consequence. I never would try and stop a child from being naughty. Unless they're hurting someone else, you know. But generally, I want them to go through the storm because I just want that. So it's like that kid who said to me, I just met him, I was working with him, and he says, you don't give me what I want, I'm going to have a fit. And I said, bring it on. Like, you got to allow them to test the water and then to learn that you know what you're doing. So yeah, but he never did have a fit because he saw my face and thought, well, she can't be pushed around. So he didn't even bother having a fit. It was an empty threat. With parenting advice being offered from every direction across the spectrum, how should someone go about spotting the bullshit? I can't swear. Well, I don't know. You got to go with what makes sense to you. If I make sense to you, follow me for 3 weeks and follow what I say. And if it doesn't work, then go, well, she doesn't know what she's talking about, and move on to someone else. You got to give it 3 weeks. It's like a diet. You got to invest in it. And you don't pick and choose what you like from different people because it's like dieting. You got to pick a path. If you were to throw time out into my method, it wouldn't work because I teach respect. You give respect to get it. Time out, I think, is horrible. I think it's mean, very disrespectful. So I wouldn't do it because I lead with respect. So, but yeah, you got to, I don't know, You've got to figure it out for yourself. I can't tell you that. Two things I would look for, though. Make sure that whoever you're going to take parenting advice from, it's all experience-based. And they have to have finished the job with their own kids. Have they got adult kids? Have they lived with teenagers? You can't talk about parenting unless you've lived with teenagers. It's a whole different beast. Because what works when they're little often backfires in the teen years. You're building up resentment without even knowing it. Okay, so have they lived with teenagers? That's number one. Number two is they might have just had really easy kids. They have to have worked with hundreds of other kids in hospitals, schools, daycare centers, wherever. So they have to have a wealth of information and working with hundreds of kids, so they've seen it all. Those are the two criteria that I would look for if I was going to take parenting advice. Otherwise, it's like taking financial advice from someone with $10 in the bank. Wouldn't you rather take it with someone with $1 billion in the bank? You know, all that wealth of information. It is a wealth. Experience is wealth. This is experience-based. It's not brain surgery that you have to go to school for. This is experience-based, dealing with kids one-on-one or two-on-one or whatever. Yeah. So yeah, that's your call. And I always tell people, if you don't like what I'm saying today, you'll never like me, because I just say it like it is, and I've been like this for forever, right? So, and if it doesn't resonate with you, you're not going to listen anyway. You're not going to do it anyway. So it's got to be someone that, you know, has that wealth of experience, for one thing, and that you resonate with, someone that makes sense to you and you're more likely to follow. What's your advice for 17-month-old learning 3 languages, his mother tongue, English, and French? The only pain in the butt with that is other people often struggle to understand them because they tend to mix up their languages. But I think it's great for the kids. Like, I would love that. I can barely handle one language. I would love to be able to speak another language. I've literally been kicked out of French class because they did that immersion where there was only 3 students and the teacher. And we just sat in a circle and they just talked French. They had to kick me out. They said, you're one of those few people who has, what do they call it, language deafness or something? I just had I could not think sideways to learn a new language. So yeah, I think it's wonderful. It's just hard for people around them when they're really little and doing that they do tend to mix up their languages. But so I think it's great for the kids. Can you put yourself in timeout? Sure. Yeah, that's great. That's when you say, scram, I need my own time. My mom used to say that because if you're meeting your kids' needs, they know they're loved and adored and you spend time with them. It's okay to say, scram, I need my mom time. So that's what I used to say to my kids, and my mom said that to me, and I go, okay, fine. Oh, you're not going to like my answer because it's not a great answer, but it's just my own experience. Any help with encouraging 3-year-old to eat healthy food? Okay, here's the thing is I'm not a doctor or a nutritionist, so I can't really speak to nutrition, but I'll tell you what I did, okay? It's a bit radical. I'm really kind of a health nut, so I didn't have any junk food in the house. Like if the kids didn't eat their vegetables and whatever I was making for them, there was no ice cream or potato chips in our house, so they just knew they had to eat healthy. They didn't have a choice. My son was really little, and the first time he ever had pizza outside the house, he came home and he said, Mommy, the pizza was weird. The sauce was red because my sauce was brown because I pureed spinach into it. I could puree healthy stuff into anything. I was a professional at that. So I did make cakes and cookies and pizzas and bread. I did everything from scratch, but I pureed all this healthy stuff and threw it in. But I had to be careful. Couldn't have specks of seeds in it or something that they could really see. I was careful. But you can hide almost anything in a chocolate cake because it's dark. So yeah, it's just what I did. So, and also I don't like arguing with kids. I believe that they do have taste buds and they're very sensitive. So a meal was never a big deal with my kids. I would just say you have to try everything, but you don't have to eat whatever you don't like. But because they were only fed healthy stuff, it didn't really matter. But yeah, and they weren't stubborn about it because they knew there was no fight about it. It's just, well, that's all you're going to get. If you don't eat it, it'll be ready for you till you go to bed. So, but I did cook around their taste buds. My son was particularly fussy. He didn't always eat as well as I would have liked, for sure. But, you know, the kids. How do you set boundaries with in-laws? That one's a tricky one. Boy, oh boy, you should look at the comment. You should read the comments, especially in Instagram and TikTok, because I've been on there longer. And because they're used to me now. I'll tell you, they come up with better wording than I do. But anyway, so what I say is when someone's Badinsky and they tell you and they're undermining your parenting, I would say to that person, say, you know, when you undermine my parenting or when you criticize my parenting, it hurts my feelings. It puts a mirror up to them. And then they know, but basically the next time they boss you around, they know they're hurting your feelings. There's no denying that. You see, it kind of puts them on the spot. That's what I would do. But it's a tricky one. Good luck with that. You should look at some of the comments. I did a video about Badinsky parent-in-laws or grandparents or something. It was just recent, and the comments were great. Uh, Oops, I got to go ahead. Someone said to me yesterday, they called me on this, and they said, you're kind of over the top sometimes. I do exaggerate a lot. I exaggerate about 1 billion times a day. Like, it's just my style. What I'm doing is I'm trying to drive these points home. So hopefully it comes across that I do have a little bit of tongue in cheek. I do use a lot of humor, but I'm trying to drive my point home. So you're absolutely right. I am a bit over the top sometimes. And believe me, my kids called me out on everything. So it's okay to not be perfect. I'm okay with that. Like whenever I talk about the old-fashioned authority style parenting and the newfangled pleaser parent style, I always say that with the old-fashioned authority, it's not a bad way to parent. And I believe that. It's not bad, but the kids rebel in the teen years, but they come out fine the other end and they respect their parents for what they did for them. On the other hand, the pleaser parent style, the kids are total disasters. They wipe their feet all over their parents. They treat them like dish rags. They rebel. They never respect them. And they grow up to be self-entitled snowflakes with mental health issues. Slight exaggeration, but you get the idea. So yeah, I do exaggerate. Some people really hate that. They want everything to be really literal. And yeah, it's not me. Oh. I went off my nut on this yesterday. I guess you weren't there. This is from Manu. What are your thoughts on telling toddlers to use their words when they're, I went off on a real tangent about that. I can't stand it. I think it's extremely patronizing. Use your words. Find your inner adult. Be more like me. Don't be like you. Yeah, it's very patronizing. They are using their words. If they're whining, crying, screaming, they're just expressing themselves. That is their words. Don't patronize them. Use your words. Oh, geez. Yeah, I really don't like it. I find it patronizing. Yeah, I don't like it. Actions is their words. That is their language. Okay. Someone said, love how sure you are about yourself. I've always kind of been like that, but I'm 63 years old. I've been around for a long time, and I've been doing this now for 17 years. So yeah, if you've been doing something for a long time, you should see me when I'm talking about taxes. I drool and I wet myself. It is not my area. I hate it. I can't stand it. I know more than I admit that I know about taxes, but I can't stand talking about them. So you would not say you're sure of yourself when you're talking about to your accountant. No, we all have our areas. You just happen to hit me in a good area. Yeah, you should see me talking to my accountant. You would not say that. It's embarrassing. So how do we as parents become more sure about ourselves? Practice makes perfect. You don't aim for perfection, but you just keep faking it till you make it. I talk a lot about body language. Whenever I'm coaching parents, I do a lot of role playing. Not always, but depends on the parents. And I can just pick up on they're not going to be able to do it. So we role play back and forth. I'll play their kids and then they talk to me like I'm their kids. And it gets easier, okay? Practice makes progress. Thank you. That's way better. Yeah, I hate perfect anyway. Who wants perfect? Have you ever met a perfect person? They never are, but they think they are. They're just boring. I like people who are funny, make jokes about themselves. I think, life's messy. Laugh it off, lighten up. Like I never set myself up to be perfect with my kids or a know-it-all or even smart. I was very much a leader though. My demand of them was that you are accountable for your actions. You are accountable for what you say and do. That was my demand. If I was to demand anything of my kids, it's be accountable. Be responsible for what you say and do. That's pretty much all I asked. I didn't tell them to be good. They were, but it was like, no, you just be responsible for what you say and do. Be accountable. That was very important to me. Okay. Any ideas about how to help 5-year-old son not to be afraid of his room after bad dreams? Wants to always sleep with his brother now. Yeah. Is his brother not okay with that? Like it's usually a temporary thing. If his brother's okay with it, I would just kind of let it if he's not disturbing his brother. He'll get over it. But yeah, you can get those galaxy lights or a sound machine. It tends to, when they're kind of coming out of a dream, it tends to calm them down a little bit because it brings them into reality quicker. Do you know what night terrors are? I don't really understand it that much, but a doctor once told me that night terrors are when they wake up, they're still living the nightmare. They don't realize they're not in it still. So that's why they get night terrors. It's a little bit different from, like, not everyone does that. They wake up quicker usually. But kids who get night terrors, they say it's a dream that they're living, a nightmare that they're still living when they wake up, which is kind of interesting. So try the Galaxy Lights, the sound machine, or just let it go for now and see if he'll usually outgrow that. So I've got to scroll ahead because people come and go. What to say instead of stop? I don't know what they're doing. What's wrong with stop anyway? It's like parents saying to me, I don't want to say the word no. Why not? No means no. What do you want to say? I'd rather you didn't make that decision. Yeah, don't get caught up in that stuff. Kids they don't care about that political correctness, so don't worry about it. Like I used to say to my kids, I never tried to stop them from doing the wrong thing, unless it was dangerous, right? I wanted them to go ahead and make a bad decision, then I came in with a consequence. I wanted them to learn to not do it, not be afraid of me. I wanted them to learn. I didn't want to have to be micromanaging them all the time. I wanted them to learn how to stop themselves from making bad decisions and bad choices. So you're not micromanaging, you're not telling them to do stuff all the time. Like I really never told my kids what to do. I remember my son said that once. He said, "Why are we so afraid of you? You never did anything." Like they didn't get disciplined. I didn't tell them what to do, but I was very much the leader. They didn't want to disappoint me. That was what he talked about, the fear, because they looked up to me. They respected me. And it was mutual. I respected them too. That's how you get respect. You give it to get it. It's reciprocity. Whew, I think I said that right. It's like I can't say photography and photograph very well in a sentence because I go photography or photograph. I get those two mixed up. Anyway, it's funny. How might you help a 3.5-year-old with separation anxiety? Ouch. Don't make goodbyes or hellos a big deal. Just say, and you end with, "We'll see you later," and then just leave. They'll eventually adjust. At 3.5, they're usually manipulating you at that point. So yeah, they know it's upsetting you and they don't want you to go. I want my own way, usually at 3.5, not at 2.5. Does your boot camp include the potty training and bedtime courses? It does not include the potty training because it usually happens before the age of 3. I don't even think I've touched on it in that course. Let me just double check. Bedtime, oh yeah, it goes into bedtime. Yeah, but not the potty training because that's more for under the age of 3. Let me just double check now. I would be very surprised if I put potty training in there. So I just want to know. I never look at it. Unless someone points out that I missed something. So people will tell me, they say, you missed, I don't really understand it. So people will tell me what to change. Should be okay by now. But you can always improve, right? I hope I didn't put potty training in there because it is very much a toddler thing. And blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I don't see it. Just a sec. I'm just curious. I don't want to tell you what I'm looking for, though. Just a sec. No, I didn't address that either. I thought about it, but it was something else I thought. Did I put that in there? No, I didn't put it in there. Certain things I made a decision not to put in there. Anyway, it used to be about 4 times as long as it is. And then I had a group of clients going through it with me. And we worked on that together. So, but it doesn't include the courses themselves, but it goes through a smaller version of the bedtime battles. Because the bedtime battles goes from 2 to 8 years old, so I had to include it in the course. It's not the full course, the bedtime battles course, but I had to include bedtime battles in the course. But the other ones are toddler ones, which is basically sort of just 3 and under, like really tiny young ones. Okay, almost 4-year-old holds poop until I give a diaper, potty trained for pee. Yeah, this is more, is this a boy? It's way more prone boys are like this. And I'll tell you why. There's 3 reasons why they won't poop in the toilet. It's extremely common, by the way. Sometimes it's up to 5, 6 years old. So anyway, here's the 3 reasons that I have found over the years that this is usually what it is and usually helps. The first one is their bum is cold when they're pooping because they're usually sitting there for a while. They don't like that feeling. Also, they get hang phobia. They don't like the feeling of it hanging and pulling because it pulls on their bum, right, when it's hanging there. The other one is splashback. So splashback phobia or plot phobia. They don't like being splashed on the butt. Now, the reason why it's more common with boys, I believe, is because they got more equipment hanging on down there. So then they get more splashback. They really don't like that feeling of being splashed in the you-know-what. So yeah, those are the three reasons. So what I suggest you do is use a little porta potty and explain it all to them. He's 4 years old, so or she. Have them help you put a bunch of toilet paper in the bottom of the porta potty, just one of those little freestanding ones. And then you say, okay, so it's going to be touching your bum. So when they sit down, they can feel something touching their bum. They don't get that hang. And also say there's going to be no water in there. So there's no splashback. Oh, sugar. I just lost my connection for a sec. And also hike the heat up in the bathroom. So you're addressing all three of those problems. But it's super common. Yeah, did that help? I might have lost you there. So anyway, yeah, use a porta potty, put toilet paper in the bottom so there's no splashback, and their poop kind of hits the bottom of the porta potty so it's not just dangling and tugging on their bum. And then also hike the heat up so they don't get cold. See, a lot of parents say that helps. Some of them even put a blanket over the kid when they're sitting there to keep them nice and warm. Imagine sitting on the toilet with a big blanket. It's cute. What to do when my 7-year-old son gets sleepy every time I tell him to study his timetables? He goes to bed and literally falls asleep. How do I handle that situation? Well, I don't know the situation. What are you trying to get him to do his homework like right before bedtime? I would do it maybe after school, but allow them to have some downtime right after school. And then maybe just before dinner, have him do the homework so he's not going to be as tired. Maybe that time between dinner and bedtime is just too much for him. Maybe he's not getting enough sleep. Maybe get him to bed earlier so that he does have more energy for the next night. Could be a lot of different reasons. I don't know. If a 2-year-old prefers one parent over the other, okay, this happens. They're going to play you against each other sometimes, or they just have preferences at times. I would have said, if my kids had said, I want dad, I would have said, tough, you got me. There's no way I would have given into that. I want my father. I wouldn't let them. If I'm the one, if their dad's doing something and I'm doing, you know what I mean? Or if he was doing something, I'd say, well, I'm not coming. You got dad. You'll survive. My kids would have given up pretty quick because I just don't give into that stuff. I don't give into this. I want the other one. So, yeah. My 3-year-old's having a hard time with dad being gone for a month for work, sleep, potty training, behavior. Yeah, you could actually have him do just a video or something or an audio where he's just telling them a story. So they could potentially fall asleep with dad telling them a story. There's lots of different ways you could do that. Yeah, it's tough. Like what you're kind of asking me is, how do I get my 3-year-old to not miss his dad? Missing something. It's a form of grief. They're missing him. So. And they live in the moment. So the fact that he's coming back in a month, that's a long time for anybody, but especially a little one. So yeah, maybe have him do an audio telling a story and might help him fall asleep. Okay, what time is it? Okay, my 3-year-old just started hitting us and throwing things. How to approach? 3 years old is a fork in the road. If you're a leader already, it doesn't mean that they're not gonna necessarily show that you're a leader, but they're starting to get it. Inside, they're getting it. So there's a fork in the road at the age of 3. This is when they can stop and think before they act. They stop and reason. They can start to do this. There's a fork in the road. If you're a leader, they get super easy. If you're not a leader and you're a pleaser, they go the other way. So yeah, work on your leadership skills. Check out my boot camp course. It's all about you. It's not about your kids. Remember, we're never fixing kids. Their behavior is just a reflection of your parenting between the ages of 3 and 12. That's why the course is 3 and 12. That's when you're at the height of your leadership skills. It's when you're at the height of the leadership power, because they instinctively, they need a leader. They need someone to look up to and guide them. Teenagers, not so much, and toddlers are nuts anyway, so. "18-month-old tells everyone off by sticking and pointing finger." Okay, so he's just being really rude because it's working. He probably got laughed at first and now you're reacting. So I would just, if he's doing it, I would just look away every single time. Just ignore. He's only 18 months old. You can't train him not to do that. 4-year-old granddaughter. I don't discuss grandparenting. I just don't. I teach parenting. Because if I was to tell someone else how to handle someone else's kids, that would be irresponsible of me, because I teach parenting, not grandparenting or teaching or any of that other stuff. Like, I'm a grandmother, and yeah, Uh, I would never tell my kids how to parent. It's none of my business. They'll do a great job, I'm sure. And they don't have to be like me. Like, I don't think that my way is the only way. It's worked very well for me, and I've worked with hundreds of kids it's worked well with, and I've helped hundreds of clients. But I'm sure there's lots of other ways too. So maybe they'll find a better way to parent. I don't really believe that, or else I wouldn't be teaching this. But I'm sure they'll do just fine. Like, it'll probably be just as good, is what I'm saying. Yeah. And they both said when they were younger, they always said they're going to try and parent the way I did. So we'll see. I don't think they should. I think that they should find their own style. And of course they will, because I don't tell them what to do. It's none of my business. So it'll be interesting to see how they end up parenting. I think my son will be more likely to give in a bit more. Luckily, his partner, she'll be more the disciplinarian, I think. They only need one leader. So they only need one. How do you begin to reverse the effects of over-punishing in a 5-year-old? If you just did it, I would say, sorry about that. How about I take you out somewhere? You got to make amends, make it up to them, apologize, own it. That shows that you're changing. That shows that you feel bad about it. There's strength in that. People seem to think, well, shouldn't a leader be, stronger? And that is strong. Apologizing is strong. People who don't know how to apologize are weak. There's strength in owning and being accountable for what you do. So make amends. By the way, I teach this to all sorts of people. It's a real skill, how to apologize effectively. Number one is you say, I'm sorry, which I don't really care about. It's an overused word. So say, I'm sorry. Number two is you say, it was all my fault. You take full accountability for what you did. You don't say, I wouldn't have yelled if you hadn't done that. So take responsibility for what you did. Number three is make amends. Say, I'm sorry I did that. So what can I do to make it up to you? And then offer something. If they don't come up with it, or if they can come up with something. And then the last one is don't keep doing it. So apologizing is a very strong, confident thing to do, and it's showing love to the other person. So just say, look, I messed up. I feel really bad about that. How about we go to the play center or something? And then, I'm going to be a better parent from now on. That is strength. That is leadership. They feel so respected. They're just going to instinctively be nicer to you. They're going to be easier to be with because they feel respected. A lot of adults don't know how to, yeah, it is a boy. Yeah, it's usually a boy that doesn't want to poop on the toilet. Because like I said, they got more equipment hanging down there. What was I just saying? I forgot. Can't remember. You're old. I am. I get a lot of kids on here. Should you make, I was going to tell a funny story about a kid who called me old, but I can't because I can't tell you what I said to the kid. I tell a lot of stories in coaching, but they said, God, you're old. And I can't say what I said back to them, but it was great. It was a teenager. Okay. And that was like 25 years ago when I was young. It's funny. Should you make a consequence on behavior board, something that wouldn't want to do or something they don't mind doing? Let them pick it. Okay, the consequence is usually something you choose, and it's usually a chore. It's a good deed. Don't get caught up in this, but when they're really little, it could be something they like doing because they always like chores when they're no good at it. Once they get good at doing chores, they usually hate them. But it's just you do something naughty, so now you have to do a good deed. Don't worry about them hating it. As they get older, I want them to hate it more. As they get older, but when they're little, not so much. They just have to do a good deed. You did something bad, now you're going to replace it with something good, like that. And then if they won't do it, then you resort to the negative deprivation. Check it out. It's in the behavior board. It explains all that. Sorry, that was my toddler. I don't mind. It was funny. I get a lot of, not so much on Facebook, for some reason, real nasty stuff over there. And I always think, how, like when people come out with just horrible, awful swear words, someone called me a horrible name like this. And I'm just thinking, how important, like, 'cause if anyone acts like that, I'm thinking, you're not going to get my respect. How important do you think my opinion is of you when you talk like that? Like, as if it's going to upset me. It always strikes me as funny. I'm kind of impenetrable to bullying anyways. I've never been bullied. So, yeah. But anyway, I don't know why Facebook's really nasty over there, but I always laugh. So I don't think they like the fact that I think it's funny. But that's okay. So yeah, doesn't bother me. 6 and 4-year-old kid play and get out of chairs during dinner is okay. Take away their plate for 45 minutes. Okay, no, have a mealtime routine. So this is when kids are always getting up at meals and goofing around at meals. You put down on the behavior board, follow mealtime routine. And underneath that, you write out a little chart about everything they have to do. Sit in your seat until you're finished your meal. And okay, just a sec. It's a bit long, actually. I was going to do a whole course on this. I don't want to tell you why I'm not doing it right now because I got something bigger coming up right now. But I was going to do a whole course on school morning routine and mealtime routine. I'm not right now because something else is going on in my business. You'll see soon enough. But anyway, so then you say, so follow school morning routine. Morning routine is, or school meal routine. Sorry, meal routine. And then you put down, stay in your seat. Don't get up. No screens at the dinner table. Whatever you want to put down there. Don't make it ridiculous. But one thing that you have to stick by is when they get up. Now here's the thing. So you've got that down there. It's on the behavior board, and there's a consequence if they break the rule. Let them break the rule. Parents mess this up all the time. Don't get up. Remember the behavior board. Don't do that. That's nagging. You're not allowing them to make their own choices. They're 6 and 4. Okay, let them get up. Let them completely tank. After dinner, say, let's go to the behavior board. Okay, so you didn't follow the mealtime routine. I forgot. Well, no, next time, won't you? Anyway, so here's the consequence. You see? So allow them to commit the crime so that you can impose the consequence. That's where the lesson is. The lesson is with the consequence. We all learn through consequences. If we don't pay our rent, we get kicked out. If we don't pay for our groceries, we get sent to jail. If we speed, we might get a ticket. You see, we all are accountable because of consequences, not just out of the goodness of our heart. You see, the sooner you teach your kids this, the better. Allow them to break the rule. Don't ever try and stop them from being naughty or breaking a rule. Allow them to do it, and then they have to face the consequence. That's their choice. I always say that to kids. Well, it was your choice. Not my choice to do that. That was your choice. But I forgot. Well, you'll know next time, won't you? That's okay. It's okay. Anyway, I got to move over to TikTok now. I couldn't go on Facebook. Facebook, the live button disappeared. I turned my phone off, back on. I switched accounts. I did everything. The live button is gone. I don't know why. I tried for about 5 minutes. So anyway, I got to move over to TikTok now. You can join me over there. If not, check out the link above. You can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my boot camp course, which is from 3 to 12 years old, or you can look into coaching. My schedule is really packed these days. I'm taking clients on right now, but it changes from day to day, depending on how busy I get. So, and also tell me why you want to work with me, because it might not be, you might not need it. I might just say, well, just look at the behavior board or just get the boot camp course, because coaching is more expensive than the boot camp course. So if all you need is a boot camp course, I'll try and move you over there anyway. Anyway, so thanks so much for joining me, and I'm going over to TikTok now. Bye now. Happy parenting. And I'm still on YouTube the whole time, so just current video. I just have to go over to Facebook for a second to see if that, I'm not going to do, no, it's still not there. Why is Facebook not working today? Someone else said they're having problems with Facebook today. It's just something going on with it. It's a glitch. So, whoops. Okay, so TikTok. Come on, TikTok. And live. Okay, let me see now. 6-year-old homeschooled and refuses to do her work. Where's the consequence if she doesn't do her work? Say, you don't have to do any of your schoolwork if you don't want, but there's no screens tonight then. You have to earn screen time by doing your homework or your schoolwork. That's it. You got to do what you need to do until you can do what you want to do. So she's 6 years old. She can understand that. You can check out the behavior board, put something on there with that too. Or you can just check out my boot camp course. That sort of it's more encompassing about all this stuff, how to get respect. It's all about you and your leadership. You lead, they will follow. Do you know I have no memory of ever telling my kids to do homework or ever going to bed? I literally have no memory of reminding them. I might have just said, oh, what time is it? And they'd say, oh, sorry, Mom. Okay, good night. Love you. And that was it. They're going off to bed. I have no memory of that. Isn't that interesting? They were really self-disciplining. And that's the goal, is you don't ever have to tell them anything. They just kind of knew. So that's what I want for all my parents. I recently had twins. Oh, there's no good answer here. Sorry about that. But I recently had twins and my 13-month-old is jealous. How do I get him to adjust? You don't. It just takes time. You can't get him to adjust. You can't self-regulate someone else's brain. It'll just take time. Just protect those babies. I had a friend who had that really sweet little boy. We used to get together for play dates with our 2-year-old boys. They were both very gentle little boys. They never hit or anything. So it was a really nice play date because they'd play so beautifully. So her little boy was very passive and gentle like my son was. And so she had a new baby girl and we couldn't believe it. He went in and took her out of the bassinet and threw her on the floor. He didn't understand concussions and everything. He just thought, oh, this new doll that's come into the house is loud, stinks, and is taking my mommy and daddy away from me. So you got to supervise those new babies because the toddler isn't responsible for what they do. They don't understand concussions and hospitals and broken necks and soft spots and all that. One of the followers here was about a year ago said they had like 6 kids and they said that soft spot was constantly being pushed in all the babies and they survived. I guess if you got like 6 or 10 kids or something, it just struck me as funny. She goes, yeah, they survived. It's funny. How to get my 4-year-old to stop interrupting us when we're talking? Just say, no interrupting, put it on the behavior board. That's not an attitude thing. That's actually more of an action. It's not an attitude. It's more of a rude action. So put down no interrupting when we're talking. But make sure you're meeting their needs. Are you playing with them enough? Do they get enough attention? You'll probably say, oh, they get too much already. So yeah, put it on the board and they'll learn not to interrupt. There's a consequence if they do. So first time mom, you got a 1-year-old who's having tantrums. Check out my tantrum busting course. It might help. If anything, it's going to make you feel better that you're not alone because lots of kids, they're either born to have tantrums or they'll never have them. I know someone came on here and she goes, and she said this, and I could just tell her tone of voice. I've got 4 children. Not one of them has ever had a tantrum. I thought, well, aren't you lucky? There's no skill in that because they're either born to have them or they're not. It's a personality temperament. Has nothing to do with your parenting. Whether or not they continue having them through like 3 and 4 and 5 years old, that's on you. But they'll start having them regardless of what kind of parent you are. And they'll start having them as a baby. I remember my son had tantrums and I was trying to get him on the boob and he would just turn red screaming if he couldn't get on right away. Whereas my daughter would never have done that. I never had a tantrum either. You're born to have them. So yeah, they'll survive. You won't, but they will. Tantrums are really annoying. Check out my tantrum busting course. It goes into great detail. You do ignore tantrums, but there's a very specific way of how you do it. Oh, you asked a question I don't know. From Malaysia, what age do I start sending my baby to preschool/preschool, play school? I don't know. It depends on where you're from and what I kind of went with what was going on in my community. If all the other 3-year-olds were in kindy, I sent my kids to kindy. I just kind of followed what was going on in the neighborhood. Because there were no kids down the playground if they were all off it. You see what I mean? So yeah, and whatever feels right to you. That's kind of a personal choice. One thing that I did with my kids is once they were up on their feet and really comfortably so, I took them to the gym every single day because they could go in daycare. I did not want them crawling around in that dirty daycare carpeting. So it just grossed me out. But I waited till they were up on their feet and then I took them down there every single day, like weekday. They were at the gym daycare. So it was great. And we used to laugh as moms, on the daycare ladies used to laugh, say, I thought the class was only an hour, like we'd be 2 hours. Boy, did we walk slow from the aerobics room down to the daycare because we're chatting away. When you're with a little one all day long, it's really nice to have conversation with someone. So it was funny. Oh, you got a runner. No matter where I go, what I do, my 2-year-old runs away. Get a harness on them. And when they run, you clip them in and say, no running. And you keep them clipped in for the rest of that outing. Yeah, it's going to be a nightmare. So go do practice runs first so they get it. Go somewhere you don't have to go where you can just keep them clipped in. You have to clip them in, keep them clipped in for the rest of that outing. They will eventually learn not to run. There are 4 things that kids are born to do. They're either going to do them or they're never going to do them. One is running, one is tantrums, one is hitting. They're either going to hit or they never are. And the other one is climbing. Often climbers and runners go together, not always, but they're the ones who don't have any fear. Physically, they'll climb walls, they'll do whatever, they'll run. But yeah, you just got to take charge. It's like you wouldn't not clip them into a car seat, would you? You don't want them running into traffic. It's a safety, life and death stuff. So yeah. Climbing high does that too, yeah. But often they're the athletes of tomorrow, right? They're very physical. So what is so annoying when they're little is often what serves them very well down the road. Not always. I wouldn't say tantrums ever serve anyone down the road. It's a temperament. But yeah, obviously you can learn how to manage it. But the rest of the stuff, the running, the climbing, the hitting, they could be really good baseball players or something, you see? So they could actually be positives down the road. I know it doesn't help you now. I know. Okay. Oh, I got the neighbor's dogs. Can you hear them? They got 2 dogs next door in an apartment downtown, and they got 2 dogs next door. If they can smell another dog in the hallway that they don't like, they think they own the hallways. Just go berserk. It's so cute. Your advice is top tier. Wow, and I love your delivery. It's very straightforward. Yeah, I have no filter system. Sometimes I wish I did, but Well, no, I don't care anymore. I'm old. I don't care. But yeah, I am so obsessed with getting the message out there because I know I'm helping people. I know it can help. But if I'm not resonating with you, then move on. If you don't like me, you're never going to do what I say anyway. I want you to get results. I want you to enjoy parenting as much as I did. It was the most fun I ever had in my whole life. I miss it. I have my little buddies with me all the time. I loved it. The other school moms used to say whenever they'd see me drive by with my kids in my little blue RAV4, this is all they'd see. Like we were all laughing all the time. We just had fun because I didn't have to discipline them. I was just that goofy, fun mom because I was a leader. Leaders are fun. They look up to you. You're like their best friend. They like themselves when they're with you. That's your power. It's not negative. The discipline's a tiny part. That's all people ask me about though. But in coaching, it's very different. Coaching is all about connecting with your kids. But I'm just responding to what you're asking me on these lives. So it always comes across as discipline. That was a tiny part of what I did with my kids. Tiny, tiny, tiny. Yeah. Your content has helped me so much. Any tips on how to get an 18-month-old to stop hitting? Yeah, I do have a course on that, toddlers who hit, bite, etc. if you're interested. It's one of my many toddler courses in the link above. If not, it's just consistent corrective actions. Every time they hit, you say no and you hold their hand like that, and then you'd walk away. You always remove them from the fun or the fun from them, or you or so you remove something from them. You don't do timeout. Timeout is when you send them off in a corner alone. I can't stand timeout. I think it's humiliating. I think it's mean. There's no lesson learned. They sit there and feel like crap. You sit in that corner all by yourself. You're 3, you sit there for 3 minutes and you think about what you did. They're not. They're sitting there feeling like garbage. There's no lesson learned in timeout. It's just awful. How would you handle friends that parent very differently? None of my business. What do you mean? It's none of my business. I would never say anything. I would never tell my kids how to parent. I'm not a bossy person by nature, though. So, yeah, I would never say it. It's none of my business. Did you play with your kids? All the time. All the time. I was that crazy mother. I remember once I was just nuts. I remember once I had a neighbor come by and I was folding laundry. And my kids are really sweet, like they're really easy kids. And because I was a good leader, right? So anyway, this neighbor was over and she said, "What's going on with your kids? They were racing around the house screaming." And I said, "What do you mean?" And she goes, "I've never seen them like this." And I said, oh, I was doing laundry. Do you know what I did every day when I did laundry? I put the underpants on my head and the leg holes were the eye holes. And I was the panty monster. I'd chase them around the house. They were getting revved up for the panty monster. Oh, I was insane. I was absolutely insane. Yeah. Yeah, it's too bad I don't talk about that enough because no one ever asked me about that. I guess I'm just responding to you on these lives. But really, I was nuts. I was crazy. And that was when I was working with kids, I led with fun. My superpower was I was fun. And if they acted out, I wasn't so much fun. I'd just get real quiet. Didn't like that. So I'm just going to be quiet now for a few seconds. And they were embarrassed because they like fun Lisa. So yeah, that was my superpower with kids, was being fun. And with teenagers, it was humor. Were you a stay-at-home mom? I was very lucky. Yes, I was. I did teach aerobics, but I could work that around my husband's hours. So yeah, I was a stay-at-home mom. I was very lucky. And then when I started my business, they were teenagers. So I still stayed like I was home. So. How on earth am I going to bring this into these lives more? Because all I ever get asked about is discipline, which I totally understand. You're here for me to solve your problems. But really, I didn't really have to discipline because if you lead with fun and you play in their world, you connect with them, you make them feel good about themselves, you make them like themselves. When you're fun, you don't have to discipline. See, that's why I never had to do it. The pool story kind of sums it up. Look at the pool story. It's called, I think if you just type in Bratbusters pool story or Bratbusters example of leadership parenting or leadership parenting, it'll probably pop up. I just did a video a couple weeks ago on the pool story and I hit every point. It was just a really good video because I thought, wow, I actually hit every single point in that video. It explains my style. Like I don't take any crap. I deal with bad behavior, but it's like that. And then I focus on the good kid. Make them feel good about themselves. They did something bad. Don't make that bad behavior their identity. I want their identity to be, I'm wonderful. I'm great. I'm not perfect. Nobody is, but I like myself. And I like myself when I'm with mom or with Lisa, whoever I was to them. And then they treat you like gold. They're wonderful with you. That is your power, is connecting with them, bonding with them. That's coaching. Coaching is all about bonding with your kids. Because I control coaching. You control the lives by your questions. I control coaching. So it's all about bonding with your kids. And the discipline's part of it, but it's a tiny part of it. It's too bad there's a disconnect there, because it seems like on here it's all about discipline, but in coaching it's all about, a lot of parents are surprised at that. Oh, it's all about connecting with your kids. And I said, yeah, that's what we're doing here. We're connecting with your kids. How would I get that more across on here? Anyway, whatever. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm too busy right now. How do you help a 3-year-old who cries over anything? A simple no will get him screaming. Okay, he's emotionally volatile. That's because you're not a leader. When you're a leader, they don't cry that often because they feel safe. They feel like you're in control. They just feel differently. It tends to calm their emotions. So it's all you. Your leadership is everything. From the age of 3 to 12 years old, their behavior is 100% a direct result of your parenting. It tends to calm their emotions. They just feel more confident. They have higher self-esteem because they feel you're meeting their needs. They need a leader. They desperately need a leader. If you're not a leader for your children, you're going to send them out in the world very vulnerable. They're going to be very susceptible to peer pressure, bullying, the drug dealer on the corner, the internet, the Kardashians. They're going to be looking for leadership somewhere if you're not the leader. When you're the leader, they check in with you with everything. They tell you everything right through the teen years. They can't help themselves because I told my mom everything. She was a leader. I looked up to my mom. My dad just gave in. He was the pleaser. I love them both. I adored him. He died when I was younger, unfortunately. But yeah, my mom was the leader. My dad was the pleaser. I was the leader. My ex-husband was the pleaser. They're usually the way it is. They only need one leader. I didn't want him messing up the kids because I had so much experience with them. I didn't want him doing the disciplining or all that stuff. I wanted to do it anyway. And I would never want a teacher to do that. I don't want the method. I don't trust them. I don't want someone else raising my kids. So they can do whatever they want with my kids, but I wanted to be the leader. I wanted to be the leader because I just did. So, and it was easy for me. Love your tips for my 13-month-old. Oh, good. Okay. Most of my tips are not for babies. They're babies till they're about 15 months old, but a lot of it does transfer down to that age too. But I always say you meet their needs and manage their wants. But with babies, you meet their needs and you meet their wants. But they're still kind of babies and they're just transitioning into toddlers. They're kind of toddlers at 16 months. I just say that. I think it's a pretty good age. And then they're only toddlers up until they're turn 3. So they're babies from 0 to 15 months, 16 months to, 35 months, they're toddlers. That's just in my own estimation. It's just the way I break it up. Am I right? I don't know. Doesn't matter. Someone in here wants to know what to do when another child you spend time with is hurting your own. There's no way I would allow that. So yeah, I would, if I could disconnect from that other parent and not see them, I literally have cut off friends because of that. I had a friend who, they had a kid they couldn't control, was hitting my kid all the time. And she would say you're sorry, and he'd go, Dobby, and then he'd just do it again. She had no control, so I never saw her again. Anyway, that kid ended up getting kicked out of all the schools. High school. They moved on. They moved to another district. And I heard this. I was in the gym one day and they were talking about, oh my God, this kid in school, he's been kicked out of all the high schools. And now the parents are fighting to keep him in this last high school in the whole district. And I said, is his name such and such? I didn't even know where they'd moved to. And they said, how'd you know? And I said, I knew it had to be the same kid. He was nasty. And the mother had no control at all. And why did I bring that up? Yeah, I cut off friendships and everything. There's no way I'd allow my kid to be hit. And I would just say, can you please stop your kid from hitting mine? I literally would have to say, if you have to see someone, just pick your kid up or something. There's no way I would allow my kid to be hit. Oh my God, completely the parents' fault. Of course it is. It's never the kids. Whenever I see a kid acting out, I don't look at the kid. It's never the kid. It's always the parent. Whenever I see a kid doing something, I just look at the parent. That's all I do. I look at the parent. Sometimes people used to know who I was. Years ago, I used to be on TV and that a lot. here in Vancouver. So I had to be careful, but now no one knows I don't do that anymore. So no one knows who I am. So I'll actually stop and watch families in the park sometimes. If I see a kid having a scene, I'm just curious to see what they're doing. And I never look at the kid. I look at the parents. So, yeah. And if they're not doing it correctly, they just don't know how. No one does what they know no one avoids what they know they should be doing. They just don't know what to do. Everyone does the best they know how. No one's handed a baby in the hospital and says, I'm going to mess you up. They all do the best they know how. So yeah, even your parents, if you messed them up. I know whenever I talk to people and they say, well, I didn't have the benefit of good parents growing up. And they say, your parents did the best they knew how. So, everyone does, right? Thoughts on the comment, it's always the parent, not the kid when the child has ADHD. Autism's different, but ADHD, those are all the kids I work with. Why on earth would you want to blame your kid? Wouldn't you rather take responsibility? It always amazes me. Who do you love more, you or your kid? Would you rather blame your kid for them being out of control or you? I would always blame myself. Whenever I was working with kids as a mentor, even troubled teenagers, if they acted out under my care, I would look at myself and think, what am I doing wrong? I saw them for an hour a week. I still took responsibility. A leader takes responsibility for a child. So if they're acting out, if you're not taking the blame, the responsibility for it, whatever, who do you love more? Your child or you? You see what I mean? Why would you be defensive about that? Love your child more. Be responsible for their behavior. Don't blame them for it. It always amazes me. Parents are very quick to blame their kids, but not themselves. Isn't that interesting? Think about it. They'd rather insult their kids than themselves. Think about it. It's interesting, isn't it? Yeah, and I was just working with kids. I had them for an hour a week. And if they acted out under my care, I blame myself. I'm not a very good mentor right now. What am I missing? What am I doing wrong? I didn't blame the kid. I blamed myself because I'm a leader. They're just kids. They're just victims of us. Yeah, I don't discuss autism on here. That's a specialty. You have to look into coaching if you want to work with me. That's a specialty. I only discuss autism in coaching. Any advice introducing toddler to a new sibling? None whatsoever. Nope. It's a big transition. You can't make it easier. You can try getting them their own little baby and all that stuff, but no, I've never heard of anything working really well. It just takes time, patience and time, and protect the baby because that toddler does not understand soft spots, concussions, bleeds. They might even throw that baby on the floor. Lots of them do. They get in the room and they go throw the baby on the floor or do something mean to them or throw a pillow on them, try and smother them. They don't know. They're just toddlers, right? They don't understand. So just protect the baby. It just takes time and patience. I had a miscarriage in between, back surgery and a miscarriage in between my two kids. I would have had them closer, but I had them, my son turned 5 and 2 weeks later, my daughter was born. It was wonderful because he went off to grade 1 and then I had her all alone. I had 5 years alone with him to bond with him. And then I had, her, like he went off to school. So it actually worked out great because I love mothering. I'm glad I stretched it out like that. What's your process on coaching a toddler through a tantrum? I do not do that. Why would you do that? No. Check out my tantrum busting course, or I've got millions of videos on tantrums. Not millions, but I've got a lot of videos on tantrums. Just look that up. Yeah, I wouldn't coach a child through a tantrum. That's none of my business if they're having a tantrum. That's their own brain processing, hearing the word no. If you interrupt that, you're interrupting their brain processing, getting themselves out of it. So yeah. Are your kids close now? Not really. They're 5 years apart. They have very different lifestyles. We live farther apart. So no, I wouldn't say they're close. Yeah. I think if we lived closer, it'd be different. They're not close. You know what I mean? They're there for each other, but yeah, they don't hang out kind of thing. And my son's a father now, so it's different. Okay. This is kind of a good question, but you're overthinking it. Does not putting your kids in daycare hinder them when going to school? So in other words, they haven't got the social skills. They're going to learn anyway. It doesn't really matter. Don't overthink that little kid stuff. It doesn't matter that much. I did want my kids to learn social skills, so I went to the gym every day. and they went in the daycare there. So that was their social life, was the daycare. My daughter didn't particularly like it. She was like Velcro with me. She just wanted to be with me all the time. But she was an easy kid, so she went in there, but she was very excited to see me. My son would sometimes get upset when I took him out, and he would cry on the weekends when I didn't take him with me. There was no daycare on the weekends. So he would cry when he saw me get in my gym clothes because he wanted to go see his friends. So yeah, but I don't overthink that. They'll survive. They're going to go through it, whether they're little, separation anxiety, or what, whatever. Yeah, don't worry too much about the little kid stuff like that. Like, it doesn't really matter long term. How do we look up your courses? I have one link in the description above, or the bio, and it leads you to everything. So it's just all on one page. So you can check that out. Do not just type in Bratbusters unless you make sure you put an S on the end of it, bratbusters.com. Evidently, people have been ripped off by fake me's out there. There's been a few of them that I've heard of that people have paid. And if you go to the link above, that is me. It takes you just to me and my website. But yeah, so just follow that link. There's nothing I can do about it. If someone goes on and finds, isn't that awful that people do that? But it's criminals. They're going to do stuff, right? Yeah, I'm going to join the YMCA just for free 2 hours a day. So cool. Going to do that. Yeah, I went every single day. I took my kids to the gym. And yeah, worked out great. It was really good for them. My daughter did end up liking it, but she always was happy to see me. My son wasn't. He'd see me coming and he'd go, oh no, the fun's over. So, because then we usually went grocery shopping after that. Okay, you got a 5-year-old who learned a naughty word at daycare. They're going to be exposed to everything out there. The thing is that you want your leadership to overtake any of the other stuff. So, like, put down no bad words on the behavior board, and if they do, there's a consequence. So, yeah. They just don't tend to do naughty things when you're a leader because they'd be embarrassed. They look up to you. They want to please you. You don't want obedient little soldiers, but if you ever had a mentor, a teacher, or a coach that you really looked up to, it'd be kind of embarrassing to be rude to them. It's like that. That's what I teach. You're like a mentor to your children. You're also like best friends. You're fun. And they would be embarrassed to be rude with you. So I remember once we were driving home from school, and my son's the older one. My daughter was about 5 at the time. And I won't say the word, obviously. It was like the worst word you can think of. Mommy, what does this mean? And my son and I went, and she instantly went, oh no. She didn't know. She had no idea what it meant. So yeah, she never said that again. But yeah, the fact that they repeat it says you're not a leader. You know what I'm saying? Like, she just wouldn't have said it again. That reminds me, we were driving down the road and the song, I Got You, Babe, Sonny and Cher, I got you, babe. And then she started singing it, I got toothache. My son and I used to laugh at her all the time. She loved it. Like, someone said to me once, you and your son are always teasing your daughter. She loved it. If we didn't, and I said, we tease you too much. She goes, no, I like it. Because she always felt like she was the center of attention. She was adorable. What kind of discipline for 4-year-old? Well, that's a big question. Check out the behavior board. It's all about consequences. It teaches children to make good choices and to be accountable. If they make a bad choice, they have to pay the price for that. That's all it is. It's a behavior board, and you're on it too. That's what makes it work. Remember, you lead by example. They're watching you. They're not really listening to you. They're watching you. Do you know, I've always said, I didn't know what age it was, to be honest. I thought it was about 5. But they say you form your personality in the first 7 years of life. And I always said they're not listening to you, they're watching you. And sure enough, the scientist came out and he said, I'm just saying, I was right all along. He came out and he said, the first 7 years you form your personality, and it's only done through observation. Words and it doesn't mean anything. They're watching you. That's how they form their personality. It's through observation. So watch how you act. Don't just get them to act well or responsible. You act responsible, and they will too. It's just the way it is. You're new here. Welcome. I've got a client, not a client, she's a regular on here. I haven't seen her for a while. Her first baby is due, I don't know what country she's in, but she's been on my lives now for about 2 years here on TikTok, and her name is I Am, and her first baby is due tomorrow. So I'm wondering if she's had the baby, because I haven't seen her on here for a couple of days. Yeah, so her first baby is due. That's very exciting. She's been watching, trying to rev up for parenting. By the way, leadership to me is so I can have fun with my kids. Leadership is supposed to be fun. Getting respect is hard work. Once you've got it, you can just relax and be friends with your kids. They'll tell you everything. You're a safe place to land. They have high self-esteem. They feel safe with you. Leadership is fun. Getting there is hard. It's hard work. You got to earn that. I worked for it. I earned it. And even when I'm working with clients, I work my butt off. I'm earning that respect. I want them to listen to what I say and do it. Like what I mean is I want them to get results. I work my butt off. I earn it. I earn their results. And so do they. I always say, I tell you what to do, but you do it. You pat yourself on the back when you do it. But you got to work your butt off to get respect. You got to work your butt off to get results. But then it gets easy. What's the key to being a leader? Make kids like themselves when they're with you. That's the whole basis. You deal with bad behavior, it's over and done with fast. Then you focus on the good kid. Your goal with your children is that they like themselves. In turn, they'll end up liking you too. That's a gimme. But your goal is that they like themselves. They're proud of themselves. They have high self-esteem. They make good choices. They're just good people, basically. Well, I can't answer this, but I'll read it out. But I haven't got enough information. For one thing, I don't know how old he is. What do you think about my son? Attention-seeking behavior, specifically in public, but he gets attention? I don't know what you mean by that. Is he 2 or 20 or like, and what kind of, I don't know what you mean by that. Besides, if he's getting attention out there in the world, if you're the leader, you're the one that they really care about. Like what I mean is getting attention from other people for the wrong reasons wouldn't do it for them. They care more about what you think than anybody else because you're sort of their guiding light. Children need that. They need a leader. You're not bossy. It's not like that. You're a leader. You're a safe place to land. They'll tell everything to, right through the teen years. Without that, they're kind of lost. How do you change the dynamic in the home when there's constant bad behavior? Well, that's all I teach here. Dealing with ADHD and ODD. Well, that's all the kids I learned this on. There is no such thing as ODD, by the way. It's oppositional defiant disorder. It's an acronym that was invented by doctors to make moms feel better about themselves. That's what doctors have told me. It's not a medical diagnosis. It just means you got a feisty kid and you're not a leader. You got to work on your leadership skills and it sorts itself out. I learned all this. I worked with hundreds of kids with ADHD. That's where I learned. No one ever handed me an easy kid to work with. They not once, not ever, in all those decades of working with kids, did they ever say, here's an easy one, Lisa. They all went, good luck with this one. So I always got the difficult kids to work with. I was a mentor, troubled teens, toddlers, whatever. So yeah, you're a leader and that stuff takes care of itself. Yeah, oppositional defiant disorder. It's frustrating. You know why they develop that? So that moms don't blame themselves and they just sort of almost say, well, it's not my fault. They've got ODD. They don't even work on the kids because of it. Well, I can't help it. He's got ODD. That's what doctors have told me. So they're frustrated by it because it sort of gives the mom a pass. Like, well, I don't have to do it. It's not my fault. It's got ODD. Think about it. ODD, oppositional defiant disorder. They're just feistier. So I always think of it this way. They're just begging for a leader. The more difficult the kid, when I was working with kids, the quicker they were for me to get respect. It's almost like when they come up against a leader, they go like this. Oh, finally. Phew. Like that's what they're waiting for. That's why they are so oppositional. That's their way of screaming for a leader. Take control. Take the power of being a leader. Work on yourself. Remember, it's their behavior is 100% a direct result of your parenting. Between the ages of 3 and 12. Under 3, they're nuts. 13 and over, they're kind of going off a little bit. But you can still get there, but it's a little bit different. You're at the height of your leadership, and their behavior is 100% a direct result of your parenting. So work on your parenting. Don't blame the kids. It's not their fault. I always say they're just victims of us. There was a Roseanne show years and years ago, the original one. It was fantastic, and it was just so funny. And someone said, well, aren't you worried about messing your kids up? And she said, we're all going to mess our kids up. It's just to what extent? Like, you're always going to do something wrong. I mean, it's just the way it is. We're never going to be perfect, and you wouldn't aim for that anyway. Why would you? It's ridiculous. Life's messy. Parenting's messy. You want to do a pretty good job, but of course you're going to make mistakes. The thing is, you want to be accountable for them and take ownership of them, make amends for them. Like my kids loved it when I messed up. Oh my God, they loved it. They'd look at each other like this. And I go, oh, shoot, what do you want? So I was accountable. I'd make amends. They loved it when I messed up. Loved it. I remember once I said to my son, I was talking to someone and my son was there. He was a teenager. And I was saying, yeah, I'm really good at apologizing, which I am. I'm good at apologizing. And my son said, that's because you've had so much practice. You got to be human. That was great. Okay. Also, my son, he's the one who came up with all these crazy things. He was in school, he was about 16, and one of his classmates said to him, they're just talking, right? And his classmate said to him, hey, would you ever break the law? And my son said, are you kidding me? I'd be terrified my mom would get to me before the police could. Darn straight. He would have been humiliated to disappoint me. Like that would have really upset him. But I thought that was hilarious. Okay. This is from Ashley Rose on YouTube. I sincerely appreciate your info. You've helped our family so much just through live sessions. That's why I'm here. I'm here pretty much every day. Yesterday, I did 2 lives. I just had nothing to do last night. And I was sitting drinking a kombucha. So I thought I'll just do another live. And but yeah, I know I'm helping people because I hear all the time. I get emails every day about that. And it's very rewarding to be able to help just in these lives. Not everyone's going to hire me or whatever. Or look at my website. But just if I just pop up on a live, who knows who I can help, right? What a nice thing to be able to do. It's like a gift, right? Sorry, I just have to check. I got a message. I've got a client I'm a bit worried about right now. Sorry. With teenage stuff. I thought I saw an email from them. If you are coaching, I can't take everyone on these days. I'm really busy. But if you are really struggling and you have like life and death stuff, crisis work with teenagers, put down in the email. You have to email me if you want to work with me. Put down crisis in the subject line. You'll be my first priority. I'll always take on someone who's in crisis. I started my business doing teen crisis work. And I remember once I was doing the 6 o'clock news, and I won't say why, but it was a horrible thing that happened to some teenager. So they had me on the top of the news. They introduced me as the crisis queen. And I remember thinking, I don't want to be a queen, and I don't want to just be the crisis queen. So I thought I want to be the prevention parenting coach. I want to prevent all that stuff. I still do crisis work, but I don't lead with that anymore. But I'd rather prevent that. So, toddlers are the most challenging physically. Teenagers can be the most challenging emotionally, but most certainly toddlers are physically challenging because you got to watch them all the time. But teenagers don't have to be emotionally challenging. But if you're not used to them or you don't know how to parent them, they can be very challenging because they can get into when they do something wrong, it can be big. And that's the problem. I'm going to read out my top 3 tips for parenting teenagers. Pardon me, my voice is going to have to go soon. Anyway, this is number 1. These are my top 3 tips for parenting teenagers. Number 1 is you listen to understand and show empathy. You don't listen to gather information to lecture with, or they will shut you out. If they want your advice, they'll ask for it. By the way, they already know it. Number 2 is you negotiate pretty much everything. It goes something like this. Hey, I want your dirty clothes in the hamper from now on. What do you want from me? It's not a blanket statement, but you get the idea. You got to give them a say and give them some control, right? And number 3 is you don't sweat the small stuff with teenagers. If they do something stupid and it's not a big deal, just say, well, that was stupid. Do you want to hear what I did when I was your age? And laugh it off. We all make mistakes. It's okay to not be perfect. A lot of parents just want to correct everything, but you don't. You just say, well, that was really stupid. And we all do dumb things sometimes. Oh, well, what are you going to do to make it up to me? Or what do it's not a big deal. Don't treat every little crime that they do as a huge deal, especially with teenagers. I truly believe that the connection you build in the years 3 to 12 will shape your experience with teen. Oh, absolutely. But you still have to adjust how you parent them. That's the problem, is you can get it all right. And then they turn 14, 15, and it can tank because you're still trying to parent them like they're 10. You have to change. You have to let them make more mistakes. You have to, yeah, it's a whole thing. Anyway, I only deal with that stuff in coaching right now. I might have a course on teens. You know why I never came out with a course on teenagers? Because I specialize in teen crisis work. That will never be a course. And then I realized most parents with teenagers are not in crisis. I can just do a general teenage parenting course. You know what I mean? So I will come out with that one day. I've got something big coming up in a couple of weeks. So I haven't had time for anything else. But yeah, one day I hope to do a teen course. I was just really busy. Okay, actually, I got to get going now. Thanks so much for joining me. I know Facebook didn't work tonight. The live button was not even there. So I turned off my phone. I did everything you can possibly do. I signed out of Facebook, went back on. The live button was not there. That's why I was not on Facebook if you were looking for me there. So sorry about that. And it was out of my control. Anyway, check out the link above. You can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, which is 3 to 12 years old. It's all about you and your leadership. It's not about your kids. Remember, we're never fixing kids. We're teaching parents here. You lead, they will follow. And they happily will do so, by the way. It's not like they're obedient soldiers. They look up to you. They want to please you because you're fun, too. You're like best friends with your kids. That's the whole goal here, is to be fun. And then the coaching, one-on-one. I can't always take people on. Like right now, I think today I could, but then I couldn't take some people on. So anyway, it comes and goes. Depends on how my schedule can get really packed. So you have to send me an email if you want to know more about or just check it out and let me know if you want to work with me and why. So anyway, thanks so much for joining me. Happy parenting. Bye now.